One night while navigating on the Bay of Bengal, a freight ship out of Hong Kong called the Primrose became stuck on the coral reef of a small island not far off the coast of Burma. After radioing and receiving word that it would take at least 2 days for rescuers to reach the stranded vessel, the captain and his crew settled in to try and make the best of a bad situation. However, when day broke the next morning, it became clear the gravity of their surroundings. Several dozen native warriors had gathered on the shore just a few hundred feet from the Primrose and were attempting to reach the stranded vessel with spears and arrows. When this tactic failed the natives, they began constructing small wooden boats on the beach. It was then that the captain made a much more urgent distress call in which he proclaimed, "Wild men, estimate more than 50, carrying various homemade weapons, are making 2 or 3 wooden boats, worrying that they will board us at sunset." The Primrose hadn't just washed up on any remote island. It had wrecked just off the coast of North Sentinel Island, an island that had remained cut off from civilization for thousands of years, partially due to its lack of natural harbors and other valuable resources, and partially due to an extraordinarily aggressive native tribe that populates the island. Over the years, the Indian government has made several attempts at contact with the Sentinelese people, all of which have been unsuccessful. They would take small boats through the dangerous reefs and surf off the coast of the island and attempt to present gifts to the natives by throwing items such as coconuts, bananas, and tools overboard to wash ashore. Though shortly after accepting these items, the Sentinelese would always become hostile once more and threaten the boats with warning shots and angry gestures. In 1974, a National Geographic film crew attempted to reach the island's shore in hopes of documenting and making contact with its people, though once again they were met with attacks of spears and bow and arrow as they got close, one of which struck the crew's director in the leg. After the devastating events of the 2004 Indian Ocean tsunami, the Indian Navy sent out a recon helicopter to check on the Sentinelese people. When the helicopter neared the beach, several warriors emerged from the jungle and began to attack the helicopter with bows and arrows. Most recently, 2 fishermen were operating illegally off the coast of the island and became marooned on shore when their makeshift anchor failed to hold their boat in place during the night. Both fishermen were then killed the next morning when they were discovered by the Sentinelese. An attempt was made by the Indian government to recover the bodies of the 2 men, which were buried in shallow graves on the beach, though this attempt was again thwarted by the natives. Even when looking back hundreds of years, the first recorded contact with the Sentinelese people by the British, only failed attempts can be found. In 1880, a British patrol landed on the island with the intention of taking one of the tribesmen prisoner, in order to take them back to port, shower them with gifts and kindness, and then release them back to their tribe. This was a strategy used by the British to gain trust of local tribes so that they could then move in and more easily obtain their land. Back in these days, the Sentinelese people would retreat into the jungle when outsiders were present, so the only natives that the British were able to obtain were an elderly couple that were too slow to escape, and 4 children. Though shortly after being brought to port, both of the elder tribes members mysteriously died, and the patrol thought it best to just release the children back to the island. It is only after this incident that there begin to be reports of the Sentinelese people meeting outsiders with an uncompromised aggression that continues to this day. Today, India enforces a 3-mile exclusion zone around the island and protects its people with harsh fines and jail time to anyone who attempts to approach the island. It is believed that any further attempts to contact the native people of North Sentinel Island would put them at risk of Western diseases to which they have no natural immunity to, such as smallpox. It is also believed that these diseases are what killed the 2 elderly tribe members that the British patrol captured in 1880. In the end, the crew of the Primrose were finally rescued by a Navy tugboat and helicopter. The crew had to fend off native attacks of spears and arrows for nearly a week with only flare guns and a few axes they had on board their ship. The remains of the Primrose can still be viewed today by satellite, stuck on a reef on the northwest corner of the island. It is unclear what the future may hold for the people of North Sentinel Island, though for now they have managed to successfully isolate themselves from the rest of the civilized world.